Good day. You know, I wanted to share a story with you. I woke up one morning and I decided I wanted to know God. I wanted to find God. I wanted to have a relationship with God. So I decided to go on a journey to find God. It was a long journey. And I think a lot of what I found will surprise you. It's going to take some time, but we can walk through the journey together. Some of the things I'm going to say to you may offend you. In fact, some of the things I'm going to say to you will offend you, but I don't care. I'm only talking about the facts, not opinions. Back when we were kids, there was a game called telephone. One person told one person, and they told the next person, and it went around the room. And by the time it got back to you, it wasn't even the same story. Well, that's also how it is with certain publications that have been rewritten and changed. Things put in for whatever reason, and things left out for whatever reason. And we may never know the reason. So, in my journey, I wanted to get as close as I could get to the source. I wanted to go all the way back to the beginning, and discover God. So that's what I did. I went all the way back to the beginning. Let's say as far back as we know, the beginning of time. Not sure if you know this or not, but if you do a little bit of research, you'll see that the oldest found remains of human beings, civilization, and such come from the continent of Africa. This is where science says that the oldest remains of people and civilization can be found. So thus, we have to assume then that the rest of the people on Earth came from the oldest source, which we found. That's just a fact. There's nothing you can do about that. Some people's feelings are going to be hurt by that, but that's the fact. Okay? There was people and a civilization there thousands and thousands and thousands of years before when most people think civilization started. Okay? Within the continent of Africa, there was people living eventually and thriving. And during that same exact time, in the continent of Europe, it had not evolved yet into civilization. People were struggling that were there to eat. It was cold. They had to dig holes in the ice to fish for dinner and things. And later on, you're going to hear how that all came to affect the world in general. So now let's start about 6,000-7,000 years ago. There was a country in Africa, later to be called Egypt. And in this country of Egypt, at that time, was still forming. And there was a king who lived in the north, and there was a king who lived in the south. And they started a war between them to see who it was that was going to take over this country, later to be called Egypt, at that time Kemet. And so the king in the north, his name was Scorpio, and the king in the south, his name was Narma. So they had this war, they fought against each other, and at the end of it, the king of the north won. And one of the major differences between the two kings was that Scorpio worshipped a god, which he called Ra. And Narma in the south worshipped a god he called Amun. So when the war got fought and decided the winner was the north, in King Scorpio's infinite wisdom, he thought, we've already beaten these people. How can I now bring us together? So even though he won the war, instead of calling the god that they were going to worship in this new place to be called Egypt, he put he put Narma's god before his, Amun. And he put him before Ra. So then everyone considered the name of the one god Amun Ra. And if you think in later, coming down the line, we're still early, thousands of years later, the word Amun became Amen, which quite a few people use at the end of their prayer. But we're 6,000 years before that right now. So now Egypt is formed. And because they have plenty of plants and plenty of animals and they're not worrying about food and such, they have time to study astronomy, astrology, mathematics, medicine, 7 liberal arts. They have time to study that. This is the beginning of the construction of not only their mental state, but also the civilization. They started constructing structures, buildings, pyramids. Okay? Contrary to some people's belief, there was no outer space beings that came down and made the pyramids and such like that. There's no evidence of that. All right? And so during the time while they were in this period and they were learning and living and making their civilization, about 1675 BC, there was a man born named Ibrahim or Avram. He was born in the city of Chaldea, in the country of Chaldea, in the city of Ur, which at that time was connected and part of Africa. See, the Suez Canal, which separates Asia from Africa, wasn't dug until our time. I believe it was 1940s. Once that was built, then water flowed through there. But before that, you could walk from Africa into Asia and parts of Europe. And people did. This is how people migrated in that area. Okay? In fact, when the Moors came through Africa into Spain and Italy and such, and conquered that area and ruled there for 715 years. This is the path that they took to get there. And this is the story that you hear about Hannibal going over the mountain and such on the elephants, and then conquering everything that he saw in his path. Okay, it is said this is why you have dark complexion people in southern Italy. Again, not trying to hurt your feelings, just telling you the fact. Anything that I'm saying, please feel free. Look it up, Google it, read it for yourself. So, as I said, Abraham was born 1675 BC. Okay, and so in the three Western religions, three main religions, Christianity and Islam and Judaism, they all agree that the father of those three, the nucleus of those three, was Abraham. But Abraham wasn't born until 1675 BC. He hadn't done anything yet. He was just born then. But by the time he was born, all the pyramids were already built. All of the science, math, and seven liberal arts were already being studied: astronomy, astrology, medicine, and such. Right? Civilization was already there before Abraham was born. That's just a fact. Look it up. 1675. Okay? Now, that means this was the start, according to the books, of these three major religions. Okay, this is where we're going to start at, right? You know, we got a long journey to go, but this is where we'll start. This is the beginning. And I feel like the closer we are to the beginning, the closer we are to the truth. And that's what I was interested in, finding God, finding the truth. Not dealing with necessarily spiritualism or your religion. I'll use religion as points of reference to make points, but the facts that I'm giving you belong to everybody. All right. Don't forget to hit the bell notification to see when the next series comes out in the video. I don't want to leave you hanging because we got a long way to go there. So subscribe, stay with us, and we'll go to the next part. And it's fascinating. Things that everyday people don't have the time or have not thought about. Hello. One quick note before you go. We will be soon getting together, let's call it a prayer group, where we're able to, for people who have issues that they need prayer for, as we believe in the power of prayer. They'll be able to leave those issues in the comments below, and then we will collectively pray using the power of God for our people who have issues. So, that's coming soon. Again, hit the bell icon so you can stay up on the videos. But we're not just going to learn about God, but we're also going to learn how to have Him in our life. Thank you.